At LSI, we don't just follow trends, we help shape the future. Welcome to Behind the Win, the podcast where we break down the biggest moves in tech, innovation, leadership, and government contracting. Here at LSI, we're bringing you exclusive conversations with the minds behind groundbreaking advancements, disruptive strategies, and industry-defining wins. From retail to tech, defense to government solutions. This is where you get the insights to stay ahead. Let's go behind the win.
Welcome back to Behind the Win. Today's conversation is about something so many people think about, but far fewer actually do. What does it really look like to walk away from a stable career and build something on your own? And not just build it, but grow it in a way that stays true to who you are, your values, and your community. Because from the outside, success can look simple, but behind every win, there's risk, pressure, and a lot of what people don't see. Joining me today is Amy Lund, owner of Dough Lady, a brand that's grown not just in popularity, but in purpose. Okay, Amy, thanks for joining us. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Tell listeners, folks who don't know what Dough Lady is, like, give us a little bit, like, from fruition, what is it? And how did it start? Because I think it was you and your husband,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, give me a little bit of background.
The Dough Lady is a cinnamon roll bakery. We are located in Mill Creek, Utah, and we're opening up a second location in Lehi in hopefully September.
What do we got to do to have you come to Davis County real fast?
I know, but listen, it's not that far of a drive. I live in Davis
I
County.
know,
It's
I know.
not terrible. But we started out of our townhome in 2020. Eric and I were brainstorming just different business ideas. We just thought the corporate world can't be it. And we wanted to do something for fun on the side. We were at home during COVID, working
Yep.
from home like everyone else. And there was kind of a gap in the market. No one was really doing cinnamon rolls. And now I know why, because they are a lot of work.
A lot.
But I also was just really disappointed with cinnamon rolls I ate. I thought these should be better. I want them to be more flavorful. I want them to be gooey. And I grew up baking. It's something that I've always loved to do. And so we launched it out of our house. There was kind of like this underground baking scene during COVID where
I mean, I watched some of them on TikTok. So what do you
Yeah.
launch it? You're just like, hey, I'm going to put it out there on socials, or like, who wants to
that
order?
literally was it. I mean, I
Okay.
created an Instagram account and we were at my nephew's basketball game and Eric was like, we can't go in until you post that your orders are open. And I was like, what do you mean? Okay, I can do this.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I say launch, it was literally we launched an Instagram account and we took orders through DMs for like a year before we got any type of like platform or software to do it. So it was all pre-order based. People would order it. It was only frozen dough because we didn't have a big enough oven to bake anything.
Right.
And that eventually evolved to pop-ups and then farmers markets. And then, I quit my job about a year in. Eric came on full time about a year ago. And so it's just kind of been this like slow and steady burn. And then we found the space in Mill Creek. I was 4 months postpartum and I said, I can do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
Yeah.
is no problem. It's just, my baby wasn't walking yet. And I thought, it's fine. This is fine. So, we opened in December of 2024 in Mill Creek and it's just been overwhelming, the support. And I just am so grateful for what this turned into. I don't think I ever envisioned this to be what it is.
No, and I mean, I think it's amazing. I see it all over socials. I see, so when Tanisa, who's a mutual friend that works here, right, said, I'm like, yes, let's get them on.
That's so
Absolutely.
nice.
Okay, you said, let's back up to the beginning a little bit, but you said you guys were in corporate jobs.
Yeah.
So before Dough Lady,
Mhm.
what did that season of life look like for you that you were like, okay, it got to COVID and you're like, we hate this?
Yeah, I went to Utah State and I studied public relations and marketing. And you're kind of conditioned out of college to go the corporate route. I mean,
For sure.
that's the path, right? Unless that's really the path. And so I worked in marketing for a long time. I did events and social media and brand strategy. And the whole time, I always loved the people that I worked with and I liked certain aspects of each job, but I just always kind of felt like a shirt was like a little too tight.
Yeah.
And or like the neck was a little too high. Like just something felt really uncomfortable to me. And I couldn't quite understand what that was. And I think I was always kind of waiting for like something else, but I didn't know what that was because I kind of had an aversion to entrepreneurship and I never really envisioned myself owning my own business, but I just thought there has to be something different. And so, I thrive working with people, and then being stuck at home working with no one, and I was working on budgets, which is not my skill set. I just thought, I can't do this. I need something for fun. And so this started as a hobby. This was fun for Eric and I to do together.
And then a year and you're like, wow, holy shit, this is for real.
Yeah, it just kind of evolved. Like, I think it kind of took off a little bit on social media. And I think, I call it luck, but that makes it sound really passive. Like, we've just have been really fortunate with the community that has kind of rallied behind this. And things just kept evolving and things just kept growing. And I've always wanted to own a bakery. Like, in my corporate role, it was like, what's your dream job? And I'm like, well, I want to own a bakery because it was my biggest hobby my whole life. And then we were suddenly in this position where suddenly we were owning a bakery, and it was like, let's try it. Let's see what it looks like if you quit your job. And Eric was still working full time, and thankfully we could live off of his salary, and
because I was going to say,
a shot.
A lot of people think this, but they don't act on it. So what actually made you take that leap?
I think it was more a worry of, would we regret not doing it? And that's kind of where we sit now is, are we going to spend our entire life regretting not making this decision? And I think it's really easy to stay comfortable in a corporate job. That's the comfortable route because that's what you've been conditioned to do.
Mm-hmm.
And entrepreneurship and taking leaps is uncomfortable. I mean, there's uncomfortable parts of a corporate job too, of course. But I think it was more, would we regret this? And we see an opportunity ahead, so why not? And I also think I feel very fortunate because Eric was the most supportive partner I could ever ask for. He was the one saying, let's do this. Why don't you quit your job? Why don't we do this together? Like, here's what it can look like. He's more of like the vision person than I am. I just wanted to bake. And it sounded,
you're the execution. Like, you want to execute on it and do.
Yeah. And like, I didn't thrive behind a desk, and I thrived in a kitchen where I could, work with my hands. And he was behind it the whole time saying, I think we can do this, and I think we can do it together. And why don't you take this first step to do it?
That's awesome. So and I think when you say it, I'm curious because it's like when you said I kind of had this aversion to, being entrepreneur. I agree because my parents they owned their own businesses, and it was feast or famine. And so for me, I was like, no, I'm a corporate girly all the way. But I think that we can still resonate with what you guys did, because it's like I left a industry I was in, banking, for 25 years to come to government contracting, which I knew nothing about. So I love that you guys just took that leap and that he's like rah behind you.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's, I don't know.
I think you have to have support behind you. It's something that I'm very grateful for. I have a very supportive network, and like, people cheering us on mattered. And I feel very, very lucky for that.
What did it look like in the early days then of building Dough Lady, where you're like, oh, this is just fun. Maybe this is a hobby. Like,
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. Eric and I look back on those days, and it's like the funnest, most fond memories, but everything was pre-order. And we did pickup or delivery. So people would come to our townhome and pick up cinnamon rolls, which, like, the trust of strangers, we would just, like,
isn't it crazy?
Leave it out on the porch.
These memes are like, my wife's ready to like sacrifice our whole family to sell a $10 item on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, yeah, I have them come to my house.
I'm like, my address was out there forever. Like, when I finally moved, I was like, oof, hallelujah. Yeah. Like, no one's gonna come for me in the night, But yeah, it was a lot of driving around the valley. I mean, we would do deliveries all over. So we would load up after our corporate jobs. I remember I had a 4:00 brand meeting. To my old coworkers, I'm so sorry. The reason I was off video is because I was baking. But like, I would have, we would start baking after our day jobs, and we would bake all the way up sometimes until like 1, 2 a.m. And I remember looking.
And this is when you went from frozen to like, now you're baking it.
We only did frozen. So we only did frozen.
So you're baking it just so that you can go freeze it.
Yeah. So we would roll out all of the cinnamon rolls, and then we'd put it in pans and we freeze it so that people could take and bake it at home.
Yep.
Yeah. And we never really offered fresh rolls unless we did a pop-up, which was still months down the road after launching. But Yeah, I mean, we would drive it all around the valley. We'd be baking forever. I remember looking at Eric thinking at like 2 in the morning, being like, this is my dream. Like, what do you mean I get to just bake with my husband till 2 a.m.? This is so fun. And,
Yeah.
I think he was
I
like,
can
I
think of
want to go
so
to
many
bed.
more things that are more fun, but
Now I can too. It's a lot of work.
I'm like,
but
I'm surprised we didn't kill each other during COVID
yeah.
and working together, but
It's
I
just,
love it.
it's also like, it's been our whole marriage too. I mean, we got married in September of 2020. We launched it in November
Oh,
of
okay.
2020.
Yeah.
So it just like, it's been a fun thing for us to do together. But yeah, I mean, it was a ton of work. We would do pop-ups together on the weekends. That's what it finally evolved to. We would do farmers markets on the weekends together. It was a lot of
And at
like
farmers markets, are you still selling frozen?
frozen,
not
and then
baked.
we would introduce fresh.
Okay.
So when we did our first pop-up in like 2021, I was baking it out of our home oven, being like, this is the craziest thing I've ever done, baking 100 cinnamon rolls out of my home oven, which
Holy heck.
actually is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Even now to think about that. But it just was figuring it out. In our first year, we got like a 500 roll catering order. And I thought, how are we going to figure this one out? And we just figured it out together. It didn't feel that serious. It was a hobby. Like it was something that we did.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why they say, right? You'll never work a day in your life if you do something that you love. So
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, now there's obviously things that feel like work. I don't want to like glamorize it, but
Yeah.
like it started off fun.
That's awesome. What is something people don't understand about going from corporate stability to building your own brand?
I think we're conditioned to think that a corporate job is stable. Like I left my quote unquote stable job to do something like this. And, Eric a year ago got laid off from his quote unquote stable job to do something like this. So it's a lot of like, I don't know. I think I kind of had a misconception about it where now I'm creating my own stability.
Yep.
And it has to work because all of our eggs are now in one basket. And, stability isn't always the safer path. Stability can feel a little bit risky.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. And so, sometimes stability is going out on your own. And I think that's okay. And it took me a little while to rewire my brain into that. And, there's still days. I think during our pop-up days, I would always turn to Eric and I would say, do you think people are going to come today? Like, do you think today's the day that just no one shows up? And, he would say like, yeah, I think, today's the day people develop an aversion to cinnamon rolls, which it's not going to happen.
Right.
And so, at the end of the day, like I really believe in our product and I would bet on our community all day long for stability over, a boss or my boss's boss making decisions that I have no control over. And so I think it was just switching it to say that entrepreneurship can be stable if you build it correctly.
Right. And I mean, when you guys say it too, like the corporate jobs not being, yeah, and we've learned anything in the last 18 months, it's that not even government jobs are considered stability. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, create your own and risk it on, like you said, yourself and your community rather than.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel very, very lucky the community that we have around us. And I think, Utah loves to rally around a local brand
Absolutely.
as well. And I think that's why it's worked is because the community rallied around us.
For sure. So, okay, fast forward, Dough Lady's growing.
Mm-hmm.
People know your brand. There's momentum. I know that growth can pull you in a lot of directions, but how did you decide what kind of business you wanted to build?
There was never like a sit down moment of here's what we want to build and here's how we're going to do it. It's been a lot of figuring it out along the way. But I think what's really worked for our brand is it's an extension of me and Eric. It's an extension of the values that he and I both have. And like when you walk in the door, all we want is for someone to feel loved. And when we hire an employee, all we want is to create a really great atmosphere. So I think like it's a lot of little decisions along the way, but it's also just kind of staying true to who you are. And I think it'll come naturally if that's what, you're focused on.
Yep. And you saying that, I mean, that's your guys' why, right? And my team knows I have incorporated this in our leadership, but it's like your why, because people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. And
Totally.
so that
Yeah.
is you want people to feel loved
Yeah.
and comforted, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And they're buying a feeling, right? Like
Yep.
our brand is a feeling. It creates nostalgia. It's an avenue to help somebody feel loved, whether you're dropping it off for someone who's had a hard day or like a celebration. It's a product that lends itself to connection. And like, that's what we value is connection. And we love to get to know our employees. We love to get to know the community. Like it's never about like growth at all costs. It's how can we integrate ourselves into people with people too.
Okay. So building on that a little bit, when
Mhm.
we hear the phrase scaling with purpose, easier said than done.
Totally.
So what does that actually look like for you guys in your day-to-day? I mean, I joked, right? Like get up here in Davis County. Do you guys ever want a franchise? Are you want, like, is that the goal, or you want to keep it close to the chest? What does that look like?
I think, we could have grown this a lot faster if we wanted to. We could have scaled it. We could have grown, without thinking about the cost of that. But for us, again, like it's not growing at all costs. It's being very intentional about how we grow. It's
Sure.
like, every person we hire needs to fit the right role for it. And it's not like, it's a lot of figuring it out as we go, but I think it's being very intentional about it. We could have opened a storefront a long time ago. We could have done it a
Mhm.
year in, but it didn't feel right and we weren't ready. And we could have opened the second store a long time ago, but we needed to intentionally get systems in place and create a team and create a culture. And um like growth comes at a cost, and
Absolutely.
what cost is worth it to you? And for me and Eric, it wasn't worth it to scale huge at all costs. Like I don't have a goal to own 500 stores because you lose a piece of it. And
Yep.
you probably lose a piece of yourself in the process. I don't know. I haven't done it, but um I just think being really intentional about how we scale and how we grow is kind of our thought behind it. And it's going back to our values. Like, what do we actually care about? And it's the community. And it's like, we love to work the counter and greet people who come and buy. And so is franchising in our future? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think like we want to be family owned. We want to be owner operated.
That's great. Well, and you just mentioned, right? I tease with folks all the time that I had more flexibility when I was working the mailroom at Merit Medical 25 years ago than
Oh,
I
yeah.
do today as a CEO. Everyone's like, oh, you can do whatever you want. I was like, actually, I can't.
Yeah.
My days are planned out
Yeah.
back to back all day long
Uh-huh.
for months in advance. So it's like, it does come at a cost, right?
Yeah, it does.
But if you can see, I love your purpose of like, if you can see that impact and that you guys kind of don't give a shit about that. Not that you don't give a shit about the money. Money makes anyone who says
For
it doesn't make
sure.
life easier doesn't have it,
No,
right? I
people
get
are
that.
driven by money, and
Sure.
I'm not afraid to admit that. But
Yeah. But there's more to it.
there's way more to it, and there's way more that will make you happy. I mean, could we have grown to 500 locations and made $1 zillion?
Yep.
Maybe. I don't really want to do that.
Yep. Doesn't
That
sound
comes,
fun.
yeah,
Right.
it comes at a cost.
What's one decision you made that may have slowed growth but aligned with your purpose? And maybe outside of like franchising, is there other ones where it was like, how many staff do you have? And
Yeah.
maybe give listeners too of what the growth looks like. And you guys aren't a public company. You don't have to share if you don't want, but you can be like, hey, we doubled revenue from
Yeah.
2020, or revenue was $5 and now it's 500. What does that
Yeah.
look like?
I'll give you an example of our growth. In the first year that we were open in November and December of 2020, we now make more in a day. We almost make like 1.5 times what we made in those 2 months in a single day on our busiest weekends.
Wow.
So scale has been crazy, and figuring out that scale has been insane. And when we opened our Mill Creek store, we had, I think, 7 or 9 employees, and we had to triple our staff in the first year because demand was so intense and so high. And we just had no idea. I mean, we opened during the holidays, which is our busiest time in general anyway.
But you guys are, I love that you're very I don't want to say the word's not slow, but you're, like you said, intentional
Yeah,
and thoughtful, and but
it
that
has,
also can hinder
yeah.
when you're like, holy shit, we need 3 times the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. It has been so. Like overall, it's been slow. It's increased, right? Like
Yeah.
it's always been really busy, but when we opened the store, it like 4x'd what we've ever done. I don't know if it's 4x. You would have to ask my numbers guy, Eric Stephen Lund. But like it just felt so intense because the holidays are always our busiest time. And I thought in my mind, okay, we'll open the store and I'll get a breather in January. And it just kept going up. And
Like,
we
I just gotta
just,
get through this month. Nope, next one.
yeah.
Gotta get
And
through this
keep
month.
in mind, I had a new baby at home too. And so figuring that out, like I was a new mom. My baby, I think he was 6 months old when we opened the store. And now realizing we have to triple our staff and we have to get all of these systems that we don't have in place. And Eric is still working full time. And so he can do, stuff at nights and on the weekends. And, I had to figure out a nanny, and it was chaos when it
Right.
opened. It was the hardest few months I've ever had. Like I look back on January through March of 2025 and I was like, well, that was kind of a dark time in my brain. Like it was just,
Hit hard.
it was hard. It was a lot. But I think like decisions that have impacted growth, again, it's being slow, but it also like it's listening to your gut. My gut has always been right. And so we looked at locations for a long time. I mean, I think we started looking in like 2023 and we toured a bunch of spaces and it didn't feel right. And the timing didn't feel right. And Eric and I walked into Mill Creek and I just remember turning to him and saying, oh no, like I'm feeling something.
Right.
And it just like the stars aligned perfectly. And I knew when we walked in that this was our spot because everything aligned, everything worked out. And it was the same with Lehigh. Like we were just kind of chasing that feeling again. And I thought, I'm never going to feel it again because now I know how much work goes into it. And so like eyes are wide open. I don't know if we're going to get there. We toured the Lehigh space in like August of last year for the first time. And it just didn't feel right. The location felt awesome, but the timing, I was just like, something's off. And then fast forward to January, we went and looked at it again because it was still available. And this time it was like, wow, like this is it. And I don't think we could have opened the store with
back then.
that holiday season. Yeah, back then, because that was a lot too. Like we're maxing out our production. And so to do both of those things, now I feel way more confident to do it because we've done it. And so now going into this Lehigh store, I'm like,
a little bit more rinse and repeat, not
yeah,
just
like
creating.
We've done it before and like we know the systems and we know what we have to hire for. And so it feels way more calm going in. And so I think scaling is just it's a compounding of little decisions that you make along the way.
Absolutely. And when you're ready to jump and because I mean, scaling too, I've talked with so many, entrepreneurs, CEOs, etc. And it's that it's got to feel a little bit uncomfortable out, like you're growing, but not, it's got to, I had someone say, if it doesn't scare you, then you're not doing it big, right? But then you don't want to get to the point where you're saying like you're like, okay, that was way too big.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So
like now we know that we can do it. And Eric being on full time is huge.
Yeah. I bet.
And like us doing it together and yeah, it makes more sense now. It made sense before, but it makes way more sense now.
Absolutely. What has this journey required of you, not just as a business owner, but as a person?
The mental load is really intense. Eric and I spend a lot of our mental energy waffling back and forth on what the right decision is for the business, but also for our employees. I think we now have 21 employees and we care a lot what their experience is like and how they're doing. And it's a lot of pressure to be in charge of 21 people's livelihood.
Yep.
And, we now have to keep the growth so that we can keep them in a job too. And that weighs really heavy on us, I think.
It's a lot of stress.
It's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And I am also a people pleaser to my core. And it's something I'm working on. But, that combined with it is a lot. And I think we just hope at the end of the day that our decisions are the right ones. There's no one telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And that's heavy sometimes. And it never turns off for us either. We'll wake up at 2 a.m. and our problems are still there, and they feel big because we have to choose. There's no blueprint to do this.
Yep. And I think that that's great because I've had some great mentors in my life, and some of the most, the best advice I've got is they said, don't listen to advice from people who haven't been where you're going,
Yeah.
because everyone wants to have an opinion or to
Mhm.
tell you, but like, unless someone has been there
Yeah.
or, something similar that,
Yeah.
make
And
your own
that's like,
decisions.
yeah, I think it feels lonely at some points too, because
Lonely at the top.
yeah, no one else knows what the decisions feel like, and no one else knows what those ramifications can be, and like the risks that you're taking.
Yep.
And I feel so lucky that Eric and I are doing this together because we get to decide together, and it's always been us doing it together. And his strengths are not my strengths, and vice versa. And so it's a really nice thing
Yeah. I mean, you're a
to be in.
team.
Yeah, we're very much a team. Like, it's very much a partnership. It always has been. And I think that has been really helpful for us to do it together. I don't think I ever would have done this had it not been for him and like his skill sets and his encouragement and strength. And it's been nice to have this be a family business in some senses.
Absolutely. And maybe something you guys can pass down. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
that's awesome for
Yeah,
sure.
it's exciting to think about that.
If someone is listening right now and they're thinking about starting something, but they've been scared, what would you want them to hear?
You're going to be scared at every turn. I think it's always scary. Like, the fear never goes away. I still wake up scared. I think, what
Yeah,
am
like
I
a lot
going
of
to
the
do today?
things I hear you saying, I'm like, I feel this all the time, and I have
Yeah.
200 employees, and I've got, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
I feel the same stuff where it's like you have the weight of the, on your shoulders
Mhm.
of their livelihood, of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
well-being, and
Yeah. You're always, yeah, I just think, you just kind of have to live with the fear. You have to learn to coexist with fear, and you're going to be scared. I think starting this business wasn't scary because it was in a sense, because I was putting out something that I had created. Baking
right, put your
feels
baby out there.
yeah, it feels very vulnerable to put
Absolutely.
out something like that. But I think it's been continuing it that's been the scarier part. Like, the decisions carry a lot more weight, like the further that you go on. I mean, and it's all relative, right? Like, the first really scary decision was buying a big mixer for our house and replacing our kitchen tables with industrial tables. And now we buy a mixer and we don't think twice about
Yeah.
it. But
So true.
but like, it's all the same level of fear. I think you just like, you hit it at different points. And I think what I would say is it's also been like the most gratifying thing that Eric and I have ever done. I mean, we come home and we download the day and it's like, listen how nice this person was, or like, it's mind-blowing the impact that we feel like it's had, and like the notes that we get and the letters that we get and customers telling us what the product means to us. And it just like, it honestly makes me cry to think about just all of the kindness. And I just think, wow, we would have really missed out on that had we not taken the leap. And I think your life can take so many turns, and you can choose to do anything that you want to do. And I'm so glad I chose this, and I'm so glad that Eric and I get to do it together, and like, we both get to have this just like immensely gratifying journey.
Yeah.
Of it.
Satisfying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, quick hits. So first thing that comes to mind, kind
Okay.
of lightning round.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest misconception about starting your own business.
The mental load is crazy.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to do. It's so much work, and you don't get freedom until you're years in, until you can finally choose what you want to do. It
And-
runs you for a little bit.
And what even is crazier to me too is I think of people who do this single, right? That they don't have like this family support or this, a significant other or whatever that's backing him. And I'm just like, I didn't take that leap until I had that. You know what I mean?
Completely.
Because,
That was me.
yeah.
I mean, again, like, had Eric not been in the background saying we can do this, and also like his skill set, like the reason that it's profitable is because he could price out every single thing that we sell. And like, I just think without encouragement from other people, I would have never been brave enough to do it on my own, ever.
Agreed. Same. Hardest part of entrepreneurship.
Making all of the decisions. There's no blueprint. I hate decisions.
I laugh because I think of like the first time in senior management when they were asking, I was like, am I really the person they should be asking the decision on this from? Like, and
No.
then you think like, yeah, nope, it's me.
No, I'm like, who put me in charge? What
Yeah.
do you mean? And I just think like entrepreneurship exposes every flaw and insecurity you've ever had, and it puts it under a microscope. There's no hiding. There's no one else to do the work except for you.
You got to motivate yourself.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's hard sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's the most rewarding part?
The customers. Like, you wouldn't believe the messages that we get about the impact of it.
I love that people do that because I feel like sometimes clients or customers just want to bitch. That's when they're going to use the means of email or feedback.
Totally.
forms.
And
So I love
get
to
it.
hear that.
I get that too. But
Yeah.
I think, and sometimes it's hard because, like the negativity can speak louder than the positive, but there's so much more positive. And I mean, I've received messages and emails where someone emailed saying that her mom recently passed away and she didn't think that I cry every time. She didn't think that she could relive certain memories, but like these cinnamon rolls let her. And like, what do you mean? Like that
Right.
means so much to me. And I got a letter that was like, your rolls have been a huge part of my eating disorder recovery, knowing that like I can eat something and enjoy it. And like,
Oh, I love that.
just people have been so nice sharing their traditions. And I can't believe that we're part of traditions. I sometimes just think like I just am looking around thinking, how did this become what it is? And
Surreal.
yeah, it's a huge part of the people that are involved, and everyone who's ever purchased from us is involved in it.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
It's so nice.
Yeah. Those are cool stories. Where can they go to order and then give us your location sites again?
I would follow our Instagram or TikTok. It's Dough Lady SLC. You can find us in Mill Creek and then hopefully soon to be Lehigh.
Do you think
as
it'll
well.
be this year?
Yes, it'll be
That's awesome.
hopefully mid to end September when we open that
Oh my
second
God,
store.
That's great.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Aim, thank you for sharing your journey and giving people a real look into what it takes to build something meaningful, worthwhile, and, with purpose. And it's exactly why we have conversations like this on, because every brand and every moment of growth has a story that I think people and outsiders don't always get to see. So, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.